Hi, my name's Jeff Broome. I'm a retired college professor. We're in Pueblo County in Colorado. And I'm here to tell you a story of an Indian captivity during the Central Plains Indian War of 1864 through 69 that's not far from Fort Laramie in Wyoming, and about 80 miles, a little bit southwest of that. And we go back now in history to August 1st, 1865, and a family from England has come over to get into the Colorado and California gold fields, and they decided to go on to California, so they're getting on the trail there at Fort Laramie, and they get put with a caravan and off they go, but they're in a carriage that goes faster, and they get a few miles in front after about a couple days journey, 3 days journey, and the Indians caught them at Rock Creek. When they caught the family away from the train, which had a military support, they killed the mother and took a 17-year-old Amanda Mary Fletcher and Elizabeth Fletcher, who would turn 2 in about a week. And they were separated in their first day of captivity, and I need to tell you that the Indians that did this was Sandhill, and Sandhill was in Black Kettle's tribe, and they were responding to the Sand Creek Massacre. Mary Fletcher, she went by her middle name, was in captivity for 7 months, and as she said in her writings to the government and that she never saw her sister again after the first day. She sought to find her, and wrote letters to the government, even wrote letters to General Custer in 1867, and Custer writes about that in his book, My Life on the Plains, and names them, and says that 2 of his men have actually observed the little girl in Cutnose's camp, and that she speaks Cheyenne fluently and is taken care of by the chief, who really values her. That seemed to end it until 1900, when annuities are brought by train to Casper, Wyoming, and the Wind River Reservation, about 100 miles west of that. They bring their wagons down, the Indians do, to load all the annuities and bring them up, and that's going to take most of a day. And so they brought down 20, they called them squaws, but we don't use that word today. So these Indian women were trading their trinkets with Casper citizens. When they noticed that one of the women trading, who could speak no English, was clearly white, she had strawberry blonde hair, and she was in her late 30s. So one of the reporters for the Casper newspaper, the Strone Times, went and asked one of the older Indians with the annuities, do you know anything about that girl? And he said, yes, she was captured in 1865. Well, that made the AP wire, as you would call it today, and went across the United States. And and a copy of it was sent to Mary Fletcher, who had married and was living in Davenport, Iowa, and she read that and she thought, that is my sister. And so she wrote to the agent at the Wind River Reservation, Agent Nickerson, and asked about that, and he interviewed the girl. She could not speak any English, and so they had no idea, but 2 years later, Mary took a train out and was brought up to the reservation and met in Brokenhorn's teepee with an interpreter and the agent, and there learned that this was her lost sister. But to her great dismay, her younger sister rejected her, as she had no memory of anything of her white family, and she said she's going to remain an Indian the rest of her life. But you know what she did after that? She changed her name from Kelstu Brokenhorn to Lizzie Brokenhorn, and she lived to 1928, and this is 1902. So for 26 years, she sold trinkets, and she was the white captive woman. She's even was in the Covered Wagon and the Iron Horse, those silent movies of the early 20s. But you can't see them in there, they're so far in the distance. But both girls died 20 days apart, and Mary Fletcher carried hurt that she was rejected by her sister for the rest of her life. And now you've heard a little bit more of what I like to call the rest of the story associated with the trails. Thank you.